Hello everyone, my name's Nigel Haddon. I'm one of four members of Mosaic. Each of us took the lead during 2024 in posting a series of short coffee break videos looking at four reasons why law firm mergers fail. Those issues were accounting, valuation, culture and due diligence, and each of us took the lead in one of those. My particular area of interest is culture, and exploring why culture can negatively impact law firm mergers took us back to a recording which we put together a couple of years ago, which we in Mosaic call Wolf Shark, for reasons which will become clear in a minute, but which was posted on our website under the title Why Law Firm Mergers Fail. In this little playlet, you'll see my colleague Tom Blandford playing a chair or facilitator of early stage merger talks between two law firms. One of them, called Wolf Shark and Co Limited, is led by CEO Howard Hackney, a thrusting, somewhat brutal and businesslike law firm leader. The other firm, with an almost identical turnover, is called Puppy Dog Kitten and Co LLP, and their senior partner is played by Mark Briegel. The characters that the two law firm leaders play are exaggerated. The characteristics and cultures of the firms that they represent are exaggerated, but only a little. We've all seen talks like this, and we found that when we looked at the video again, it was every bit as relevant today as when we first recorded it. So enjoy Wolf Shark, and thank you for watching.
Just to remind you, we're in conversation with Wolf Shark & Co and Puppy Dog Kitten, both firms played beautifully by my Mosaic colleagues Howard Hackney and Mark Briegel. The firms are totally fictitious, but also are based on our real life experiences. Thank you, Mark. And perhaps you could explain how your LLP shares its profits amongst the partners.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're a collegiate practice, and we recognise that each partner has his or her strengths and weaknesses. But one has a good year, the other has a bad year. It balances out over time, and that keeps the culture. We have a high fixed share. We take about 70% of the profits, and the fixed shares are all equal. Yeah, if you're a partner, you're a partner, and that's it. We do have an elected remuneration committee, we understand all of this, and I sit, but of course as senior partner don't have a vote, and we can allocate up to as much as 10% of the profits to specific partners based on their performance, but we don't normally do that because we don't think it's necessary, because actually using appraisal and profit allocation can be really quite divisive. The rest of the profit is paid out as a dividend, after year end. We give people monthly drawings based on a fixed share, less tax. And in addition to the 10 equity partners, we've got a number of fixed share members of the LLP, which obviously has some tax benefits.
I see. Thank you. And Howard, is that similar to how you share your profits at Wolf Shark?
Well, not exactly. We're very much an avowed meritocracy. We have annual appraisals of partners against smart objectives, which we set at the start of the year, and up to 40% of our profits are actually allocated based on meeting those smart objectives. We do have a fixed base share to allow partners to have monthly drawings on which they can meet their living expenditure, but that's based on 40% of their expected profit share and is determined based on what we believe is their market value, their market worth, what they would command salary-wise in the marketplace, or what we would have to pay a replacement who wasn't a partner. And then the final 20% is paid out by way of a dividend based on the underlying equity ownership. I'm responsible for the appraisals and profit allocation, but I realize that's a bit dangerous if it's all in my hands. So I have a senior partner who I use as a sounding board, and who is also a sounding board for the partners as well. Monthly draws, as I say, are based on the fixed share, and we too also have fixed share partners in addition to my 5 equity partners, and we have those fixed share partners for the tax benefits and the national insurance savings.
Okay, thank you. And Howard, you mentioned your Bentley earlier. How does the partnership go about managing its car fleet?
Oh, that's really very straightforward. Partners can have whatever they want, so long as they fund it themselves out of their profit share. And our profit shares are high enough for me to be able to have my Bentley. And I do recognise I'm a bit of a car nut. And we then religiously complete weekly expense claims, claiming 45 pence a business mile, because that's very tax efficient and exactly what the revenue would expect. Partners all have dedicated parking spaces in the courtyard. It's one of the perks of becoming a partner. As I say, I really love my Bentley, but it is getting a bit long in the tooth, nearly a year old now.
What about you, Mark? Do you have
yeah.
a fleet of cars for the partners?
Well, yeah, we do, because again, benefits for partners. So one of the benefits being a partner in a law firm is the car. So we place all cars through the practice, and we're very generous. Partners can have whatever car they want, up to a maximum lease cost of £325 a month. Any excess they obviously meet personally, but if they go for something smaller, they get the benefit there. We claim 80% of it as a business expenditure, and I'm absolutely sure we could find some records to justify this if HMRC actually asked. They agreed this percentage 20 years ago, and we just stuck with it. We're not that good at keeping mileage records, but it doesn't really matter. But in keeping with our client service mantra, we have limited car parking space outside the office, and that's absolutely for clients because they come first. And so we've got some spaces in the NCP down the road, and getting in a few extra steps is good for us. I'm not so much interested in the cars as Howard, but I know that's his thing. My old Land Rover, it might be 10 years old, but as good as the day I bought it. I was contemplating going for something electric. I've heard Teslas are good, although I'm slightly worried how that would go down with the clients, and especially the farming clients.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And you mentioned obviously the cars there, but perhaps, Mark, you tell us more generally about the financing of your firm. How do you manage that?
Well, we run it well. We finance ourselves as a practice. We don't like to borrow. We don't like being reliant on banks or third parties. You know what banks are like, blowing in the wind. Some partners, those without the trust fund, do have to borrow to provide their capital. But this is also proving more difficult, as we find out. And certainly, we also need to finance goodwill, which is effectively some latent WIP. So, as I said, we recognise goodwill between the partners, and some of my oldest partners are obviously expecting the younger ones to come through and pay them out. And to pay them exactly what they purchased it for in the past. And this is causing, I have to admit, Tom, a little bit of friction, as it's difficult to fund. We draw what we can afford, and I think one of the things we can bring to the merged firm is this discipline over drawing. And just in terms of properties, we've got a series of 7 SIPs, mainly through the partners, but also some former partners and actually some deceased partners' beneficiaries under their estates. And it's slightly complicated, but it works really well. There's some great investments, as we've got some prime spots with our property portfolio.
So thank you, Mark. So well invested and entirely self-financing. Howard, is the same true of Wolf Shark?
No, not at all, Tom. We believe in using the bank's money. Why use our own money? Let's borrow it when we can, although we do recognise it's increasingly difficult to borrow from the banks. We mainly need to borrow at the time of our annual draw, which we take 6 months after the year end, of all the balance of our profits. And we also need to borrow to meet our tax liabilities. And at that stage, our gearing goes up to 1 to 1 by the time we take partners' borrowed capital into account. We don't recognise goodwill. Partners come in and go out naked, as they say. And we do include WIP in our accounts at a fair open market value. As far as our property is concerned, we don't believe we're property investors or know anything about the property market. So we rent our building on a 10-year lease with a 5-year break.
Wonderful. Thank you, Howard. And that's the end of part 2 of Why Law Firm Mergers Fail. Tune in soon for part 3.